evening and welcome to Meticulous Moments. My name is Juanita Kapp. You can reach me at meticulousmacarons@gmail.com or find me on LinkedIn. Since the COVID-19 pandemic hit the globe, I've had the wonderful privilege to meet a wide array of fantastic individuals. These individuals have truly touched my life in so many positive ways. Amongst this group of people, there are authors, public speakers, life coaches, poets, leaders, and visionaries. They are the unsung heroes of our time. Therefore, I decided to start the Meticulous Moments movement out of a sense of my gratitude. It is my way of giving back to the community. Let us share and reshare their stories in an effort to build a better society. Today we have the amazing opportunity to spend time with the lovely and wonderful Lee Grigsby. And I'm going to read you his bio. He writes, "My coaching journey began while searching for a way to make an impact on this world and leave it better than I found it. As I've lived through many experiences, spiritual, physical, mental, and emotional, I've become more aware of how my actions and my choices are connected. By understanding my story, having the courage to accept it for what it is, and learning how to make choices that better serve me, I'm continually motivated to commit to the relentless pursuit for greatness. I've learned to navigate life and recover from the physical, emotional, and mental injuries by using new tools that I did not have when I was younger." He continues, "My fitness journey started around 2014. I was always active and into sports when I was younger. As an adult, while trying to find ways to work fitness into my life, I started bike commuting to work. This was a low-impact exercise due to the lower leg injuries I was recovering from. I continued to try and find ways to increase my activity and stave off the dreaded medication to fix. What started as a goal of functional mobility evolved into running more in 2015 and 2016, doing my first sprint triathlon in 2017, doing my first obstacle course race, OCR, in 2018, and completing 10 registered various race events, including my first half marathon in 2019. This is wonderful." He continues, he writes, "Inspired by the number 44, becoming a health and life coach has allowed me to serve many people by empowering them to break through their fears and lead healthier lives. My absolute passion is to coach Black men to thrive, despite the stereotypes and constructs that can be roadblocks. Understanding those things makes my choices and decisions that much more powerful. I choose not to let those biases, stereotypes, racism, and systemic constructs define who I am, what I do, or what success is for me. From the lifestyle choices that historically affect Black men's health to the systemic constructs that make success seem almost impossible. Working with me will help you create and define your own success." And then he ends, "Everything I've done up to this point in life has been to survive in capitals. Now I have the tools to thrive in capital letters." And of course, Lee, we welcome you to this session. You are a perfect candidate for the Meticulous Moments interview, where we aim to facilitate community upliftment through leadership development. Welcome, Lee Grigsby. Good day, Meticulous Moments audience, and welcome to another lively session regarding leadership. And today we have time to spend with the vibrant Lee Grigsby. Welcome, Lee.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Juanita, for having me. Thank you.
It's such an honor to have you here. You are, by the way, and don't tell anyone, one of my favorite CLA members. So I'm very happy.
Oh, hold on. Let me make a post about that right now. My
You're welcome to do so. You're welcome to do so. Lee, please would you introduce yourself to the audience?
Absolutely. So, as you heard Juanita say, I am Lee Grigsby. I am the CEO and founder of Live All Good Coaching. Live All Good Coaching, I've done group coaching, one-to-one coaching, organizational coaching. I've also created a online course for men that I'm looking to expand into a curriculum for women and for parents. Um, Also have a team that we're looking to create a wellness curriculum. We have yoga, we have art. We're working on that right now. Also recently added to Live All Good coaching service is an editing service. While that's not directly coaching, that is a way for me to use my skill set from being in television, which you'll hear about, but being able to use that skill set to help entrepreneurs, to help anyone with content, whether they want to do it themselves by offering like master classes or done for you service that edits the content to just level it up. There's nothing wrong with anyone's content now, but to actually have it match as closely to your content as you would like, not just a phone call or a Zoom call or anything, kind of represent you as a person or entrepreneur. That's the editing service.
I love that. I love that, Lee. And since we met, I mean, in our initial virtual coffee, it
Sure.
struck me from the get-go that you are such an open, relaxed person. You have such an open spirit and a kindness about you. And
Thank
I
you.
just want to know, where did your coaching start? When did you realize that you were born for this?
Sure. Well, thank you. Because yes, I've realized that this is a calling. I am meant to do this.
Wow.
Um, I would say that my coaching journey, like the official coaching journey, started in 2019. But I think it started much earlier than that. I can go back in different points of my life and
Yeah.
look at, oh wow, I've always been the person that people looked to for a standard or
Mm.
for confidence,
Yeah.
for those kind of things. What is he doing? If he does
Mm.
it, then
Mm.
either it's okay or those kind of things, guidance, that kind of thing. So um going back before 2019, um I tried to do, I'd reached middle age, as you can see, but I would say early 40s. I
Yeah.
realized, at least in this country, in the United States,
Mm.
that there started to be, or maybe it was always there, I just started recognizing it more, but there
Yeah.
started to be a lot more division of things,
Mm.
whether it was gender, race,
Yeah.
religion. There just started to be so much division.
Yes.
And at that point, I wanted to figure out how to be part of the solution and not part of
Mm.
the problem. Okay.
Yeah.
And this actually ties right into the topic of leadership. So
Mm.
I reached out to several levels of my friends, going all the way back to high school and then college, and then after college, right, professional, and tried to
Yeah.
gather as many men as I could. Excuse me, because what I saw was, if we could come together and create a movement, it would branch out.
Yes.
At the time, what I didn't was I what I wasn't ready for was actually being the leader of this group.
Yeah.
And that's okay, right? What
Of
I
course.
wanted was, I wanted them to buy into this idea of, hey, let's be mentors, let's do this,
Yeah.
but without providing a structure for everyone to kind of follow. So that turned into, I ended up a few years later, like the passion for that never changed. So
Mm.
I ended up Googling, what does it take to be a life coach? Literally Googled that.
Wow,
And
great.
yeah, right. I mean, it's good for something.
Of course.
And so from there, my foundation from training came from Health Coach Institute. They had someone actually respond to me in person, or by phone, I should say. Um, and yeah, I started that journey then, not realizing where I would be now 3 years later, you know. Um,
Wow,
but
amazing.
that enabled me to have the foundation and unlocked what really is a calling. Seriously.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I was thinking during our initial meeting, and it
Sure.
just popped up in my mind again.
Hmm.
I keep a leadership journal and I like to write notes. And
Mm.
my note was that we have a certain presence as
Mhm.
leaders, and then also we have an online presence. But that
Yes.
was before COVID. So now we find ourselves in this hybrid space.
Yes.
And you know what never ceases to amaze me is those individuals, such
Hmm.
as you, for instance. I mean, we are so far away from each other, but the presence when we are in a meeting or having a discussion, it
Yes.
is just unique because it shines through because you love what you do. I can see and I can feel that you love what you do, and other
Oh,
people feel that.
appreciate that. Yes. Yeah. You know, you're so right. Like, I don't want to minimize the impact or the loss that people have had from the pandemic, right? Don't want to do
Yeah,
that at all.
of course.
But what it's been able to do,
Yeah,
it's here's how I characterize the pandemic. Depending on what type of foundation, belief system that you had before the pandemic, right?
yeah.
It has either helped you prove how strong it is, or
Mm.
it really widened the cracks of
Yeah,
what was already crumbling, you know? And
yeah.
it shined a light on those dark corners that no one ever cleans out if they were there. so
Absolutely.
so like you say, in this hybrid space,
Yeah,
and I really do appreciate your kind words about my presence, because I it is a challenging thing for people to feel comfortable in their
yes,
own skin and with who they are.
true.
I have learned through my own life experiences to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. And so that
Yes,
kind of makes me
absolutely.
comfortable in every setting,
Yeah,
if that makes sense, you know?
yeah.
Um, so yeah, with now moving through the pandemic, like, we would not have connected
Yeah,
so easily or so
yeah,
quickly
yes,
without how we have changed how we connect. And I agree with you, right? It is amazing how many people you can feel their presence virtually, right? Like,
absolutely.
it is amazing. Or those who are working on
Yes,
building their presence, right? You can
yes,
see if someone's not sure. It's not about technology, right? Either, it's going to work or it's not. But you have to let your whole self be
yeah.
open and be vulnerable. So, Juanita, I want to share this real quick. I'm sorry, this is maybe off
Please,
topic, but
I would love to hear it, please.
this is what I learned in my foundation of coaching, and it's what
Yeah,
opened the door for me to actually be myself.
yeah.
And I'm gonna guess that you are somewhat like this. You are a giver like I am. And for those of us who are givers, what is the most challenging, most difficult thing to do?
Yeah.
Receive, right?
Yes, to
Whether it's
accept.
receive,
Yeah,
yeah, accepting help, receiving
yeah,
compliments, anything. Well, during a conference, and it was actually the last conference before in person before the pandemic happened.
Yeah.
But the presenter on stage was talking to those of us at the conference, and he was speaking specifically about revenue or about income and
Yes.
how it can feel salesy and feel dirty, right? When you would we do this for free? Absolutely 100%.
Yes. Yes.
But what he explained was it's revenue. And so the same channel and that you give is the
Yeah.
same channel with which you receive. And
Wow.
so if you're giving with the channel this big, you can't receive with a channel much, much
Mm.
smaller because it
Wow.
doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
And so the more I open up my channel for receiving, the more I
Yes.
can keep it open for giving. It's the same channel. And that
Wow.
makes things so much more comfortable, even with having to
Yeah.
charge for some services. Or as I like to tell people, you're investing in yourself, especially with the coaching.
I believe that.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
so that is one of the most fundamental things that I learned,
Yeah.
um, to really just be me and be comfortable, right? You have to feel it and you have to leave that open for
Yes.
receiving. If you're not open to receiving, your giving will run out because then the
Yes.
tank never gets full.
True. That's
Yeah.
so true. And that's a
Yeah.
wonderful way of explaining it, articulating it, because that is really how it works. I've never
Mhm.
heard it like that before, and I agree 100%. It
Yeah,
has to be that way. That is the essence of life and of leadership as well. And you've taught me
absolutely.
something wonderful. As a leader, we have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Oh
It's
yeah.
part and parcel of the package.
You have if you haven't led before, you have
Yeah,
no idea
yeah.
how uncomfortable it will feel.
True, true. Now you explained that you are busy with the video editing,
Mhm.
the new parts of your business, and I've been to your website and it was simply wow. I mean, and I
Oh,
want you
thank
to
you.
just highlight the services for us. And I want to tell the audience, we've
Mhm.
discussed now that you have a presence. When you are in a room, you carry a presence, but you also have an online presence, and that is so important now in
Mhm.
COVID. And Lee and his team want to elevate your online presence so that it represents you, so that it represents the gist of what you do, your characteristics, your uniqueness. So, Lee, would you please elaborate
Absolutely.
on that for us?
Sure, sure. Well, and again, thank you for the kind words on my website. And that really started. I had no idea how that would evolve, and I'm actually in the middle of kind of I don't want to say rebranding,
Yeah,
but evolving the website because it has grown over 3 years.
great.
Um, so yeah, on the website as a health and a life coach, I've started with one-to-one coaching, and I really do like that because there's nothing better than when you see the person you're working with and that
Mm,
light bulb moment or that aha moment. No
yeah,
matter there's no big or small moment, just when you see it happen, and
wow.
that's the beauty of the one-to-one coaching. I also like the group coaching. And by the way, I've done couples coaching. One of
Wow.
the first group coachings that I did was two couples. And it's
Fantastic.
funny because the guys were more skeptical, of course. I don't know why, but
Really?
yeah, they were more skeptical, and the women were open to it. Um, but the dynamic, it worked because I tailored each session to what they needed, whether it
Wow.
was we were going through a program, but
Yeah.
sometimes it had to go where it needed to go.
Yes.
And the breakthroughs for them individually, as couples, and then as a group, like I
Yeah.
there's no I don't have any words to describe that, but to
Wow.
have been a part of that is
Yeah.
amazing.
Amazing.
Um,
Wow.
So yeah, also, I don't know if you saw on the website where I actually have recipes. So um I have recipes. I've been doing that for a couple years as well,
Yeah.
offering people, you know, alternatives. It doesn't have to
Yes.
be fast food all the time or junk food.
Yes.
I have plenty
Yes.
of recipes that, yes, are less healthy than others.
Yes.
But the whole point of me putting recipes on there was,
Yeah.
if you can get to a place where you prepare more of your food than not,
Mm.
that's going towards a healthier lifestyle. And
Absolutely.
a lot of times people think it's all or nothing, right?
Yeah.
It's either I do this or I do that, as
Yeah.
opposed to start here and build.
Yes.
But there's no end game. It's a
Yeah.
lifestyle. So you're
Yes.
constantly changing and evolving and looking for something a little bit better, looking to do something in a different
Yeah.
way that's going to serve you better. It's a
Yeah.
lifestyle. And so that's what I like to help people with too.
Yeah.
Even like, let's say I'm done coaching with someone after 3 months. Okay, well, what's the next part of your lifestyle that you would like to work on?
Yeah.
So it
Wow.
can become a lifestyle thing, not just, there's no
Yes.
easy fix, there's no,
Never.
quick
I
program.
agree.
Yeah. And then the
No
rest
easy.
of my team, we started with working with a school. And so we
Oh,
were offering an after school yoga program, and that's where the wellness curriculum kind of idea was born, you know?
wow.
Yeah, being able
Amazing.
to offer that to, and now with an online presence,
Yeah. Yeah.
being able to offer that to people who
That's
you may not have had any contact with. Yeah.
fantastic. So, in essence, you are teaching people to invest in themselves so
Yes.
that they can pitch up and be better for
Mhm.
others.
Yes.
That's where it all starts.
Yes.
Amazing. I love that approach. That is simply amazing.
Yes. Well, here's the thing, right? Again, as givers,
Yeah.
I've heard this analogy before. If you're driving around in a car and you're
Yeah.
always on a quarter tank of gas, right?
Yeah.
So you got to go here and there. You got to stop frequently, right? Because you keep
Yes.
putting that quarter tank of gas in. That becomes tiring, right? If
Yes.
you go ahead and fill that tank up, you
Yeah.
can go further, go longer,
Yes.
and it's not as tiring. That's what
Yes.
investing in yourself is. Whether it's your health, whether it's any type of anything that revolves around mental health, around your life. And I'm speaking from experience. I'm not like,
Yeah.
there are many people who talk at you, right? I can't
Yes.
tell you the amount of time and money that I have invested into myself,
Mm.
because I live the things that I try to live the things that I coach. That's how I
Absolutely.
know what they will expect and what they may go through, because I've probably
Yes.
gone through it.
Absolutely. That's your secret sauce. You speak from
Absolutely.
experience and you apply your own advice to your own life, and people see
Mhm.
that. And they
Yeah.
feel safe when you are leading them and guiding them because they
Mhm.
can recognize that in your life.
Yes. I hope so. I do. I think.
I believe so. Lee,
Appreciate that.
what was your defining moment? Where did your leadership journey start? If you had to think back, that
Mhm.
moment that you realized, I'm going to be a leader, I'm going to take the lead, I'm going to shape people. What did you
Mm.
think in that moment? What happened in that moment in your life?
Mm. Um, I think I realized it when I was talking about that story of trying to gather as
Yeah,
many men from my life as I could. So I
beautiful.
think it was in my early 40s,
Wow.
41, 42, somewhere, when that type of leadership kicked in for me, that
Yeah,
I want to be part of the solution and not
mm,
part of the problem. Because
beautiful.
we all have a choice. And I
Yeah,
could choose to be, or I could choose to react, in the ways that many of us react. I could choose to be angry and blame systems or, all of the above. And no
Yeah.
one's going to tell me that I'm wrong for that.
Yes.
But the turning point was realizing that that's not going to be productive. That's not going to
Mm.
help. And some of
Yeah.
the changes that I'm trying to affect and trying to
Yeah.
make, I may not see in my lifetime, but that's
Yeah.
okay. That's
Of
okay.
course. It's your
It's
legacy. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. It's
Wow.
not, I would love to see it in my lifetime,
Of course.
but if
Of course.
not, that's why, and I'm not name dropping here, but I also podcast, and one of my podcast series is called Move the Needle. That's
Beautiful.
really why it's called Move the Needle, because at the end of the day, whatever I am trying to impact, if I can move it one more notch towards
Wow.
positive,
Yeah.
then I can live with that, you know? Now,
Amazing.
maybe we go 2 notches, 3 notches, great.
Yeah. We
But
never
at
know.
least that's you never but I can no longer sit on the sideline, and I
Yeah.
can no longer say, "Well, it's just about me and I'll take care of myself." Yes,
Yeah.
taking care of self is important because as I just described, if
Yeah.
you're not taking care of yourself, you cannot
Yes.
help and
Yes.
contribute to others, right?
Yeah.
But it really is about the collective. We are so connected more than anyone ever knows. Whether it's, the universe, however you want to describe it, we are
Mm.
all connected and cannot do it without each other. And
Indeed.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, so it works better. It's more enjoyable when
Mm.
you learn to celebrate the diversity and differences from where we
Beautiful.
are on different parts of the globe, right? Or what
Yeah.
we believe, because that's how you actually level up and become better. If we're
Absolutely.
all the same,
Yeah.
okay, that works too, but how boring is that?
Absolutely. I would have enjoyed that. I love learning about new people and their belief systems and their cultures because I believe it
Absolutely.
shapes me into a stronger leader.
Mhm. Yes, yes. And every experience, every interaction that you have, you
Yeah.
get to add that and then you get to share it. So it
Wow.
works both ways. Yeah.
Wow. When you were speaking about the sideline, I was
Mhm.
thinking to myself, leaders don't sit on the sideline.
No, no.
They
It,
are
it
in sometimes even if it's chaos, they are in there fixing whatever needs to be fixed.
absolutely, or at least trying. Now, and with that also, with that analogy too, right? Leaders don't sit on the sideline.
Yeah.
Sometimes sometimes you want to sit on the sideline. You would love to sit on the
It's
sideline.
safer.
Absolutely. It is much safer, it's much easier, right? Um, it's interesting, again, talking about leadership.
Yeah.
Um, I actually so again, my organizational coaching, I'm in the second year of working with a school, and what we've transitioned to was the first year was a lot of direct, coaching with the staff, right?
Wow.
Again, a lot to unpack because the
Mm.
pandemic put a lot on top of what was already
Yes.
there for people.
Yeah.
But now that been able to transition through that, I've developed a program that I get to coach them through from the top down. So from
Yeah.
their leadership,
Wow.
and it's
Yeah.
actually called, I called it a lead program, LEAD.
Wow. I
But
love it.
yeah, and can I share it with you here?
Yes,
Is it,
please. Yeah.
so, and I think this is important for any leadership. This
Yeah.
is these are 4 principles I think you have to really work with. So the L in the lead program stands for listening. You
Wow.
really have to, and what I've learned through coaching is you have to be present to
Mm.
listen fully. Like if someone comes to you with whether it's an issue, a problem, something, you can't be
Yes.
listening to them and thinking, okay, well, you know what? I can't wait till they get out of my office because
Mm,
I've got to send this email or I've got another meeting at 10 o'clock. You have
mm,
to listen and meet them where they are, right?
yeah.
Which then goes into the E, which is empathy, and meeting them where they are and
Yeah.
understanding what position they're in, what
Mm,
has helped cause that position. That's
mm,
empathy, right?
yeah.
So
Yes.
The A is acknowledgement. So
Yeah.
while you acknowledge where they are and what they're bringing to you, acknowledgement also has to happen for the things that they do well. So when
Mm,
you are in a leadership position on a random day,
yeah.
go to anyone that's in your team that's,
Yeah.
you manage and tell them thank you. That goes a
Powerful.
long way.
Yeah.
Acknowledge what they do on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
And then the D is for development. What are you
Mm,
doing to
yeah.
further develop their skills, develop
Mm,
what their leadership, develop them so that they can climb the ladder if they choose to.
yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I love that. And it's
Yeah.
so contemporary for what we need when people lead. It's
Hmm.
so contemporary to actively listen, to have that empathy, really, really
Hmm.
putting yourself in that person's shoes.
Yes.
You know, to
Yes.
affirm them, to show them that they're acknowledged, because people want love and acknowledgement, and they
Sure.
need the development. And when we develop them, we develop ourselves as well. We don't always realize it, but that's what happens
Ex-
naturally.
exactly. Exactly. And I can see it's easy in a leadership position if
Yeah,
things are going well. It's
yeah,
easy to get caught in the automatic responses, right? Okay,
yes,
cool. Someone has a problem. I'll go put that fire out. Someone has a problem. Sometimes you have to take a step back and say, well, wait a minute. Let's get to the root of what's
yeah,
going on instead
mm,
of so being proactive instead of
yes,
reactive, you know? But,
beautiful.
but it's easy
Good
to
way
get
to
caught up in
see it.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true because life is so fast paced,
Hmm.
and we have so many things going on all the time.
Sure.
Sometimes we get into that little wheel that we run around like a little hamster.
Absolutely. I'm guilty of it too. We all do. That's it's a human condition. We get caught up and then the next thing you know, 3 weeks has gone by and I'm like, wow, I haven't talked to Juanita. What's going on?
Absolutely. Tell me, Lee, what was the most difficult decision that
Mhm.
you've had to make as a leader?
Oh. There's a situation that comes to mind very, very easily. This was in college, as a matter of fact. Um it, and now that you say it, I didn't realize I was in a leadership position until now, but I was. So, this was the summer before I was graduating, and I was working for the department, the I guess engineering, television. They were doing all kind of things, and this was back in
Wow.
the days where we were installing desktop computers in every room. So yeah, that's a long time ago, folks. Long time ago. Um, but so I was in charge of that project, so I had to hire a lot of student workers, that kind of thing. So I had I don't know 50, 60 people working for this project. And two of the people um lived with me. Okay.
Okay.
So the hardest thing that I've ever had to do as a leader was fire friends and
Yes.
people who lived with me. But the issue was they were working for, certain to supervisors, and the supervisor teams kept coming to me and they were like, "Hey, they're not really doing this. I'm like, "Okay." So I tried to take every approach possible, right?
Yes.
Again, and this is a newly formed position for me. I wasn't prepared
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
be in that kind of position. So I'm like, hey, so-and-so is telling me that you guys are this, and this, what's going on?
Yeah.
And having to do this like at home, like you live with them, right? So
Difficult.
how do
Wow.
you, there's that's a lot of blurred
Atmosphere.
lines there.
Yeah.
And so they were like, you know what, we're sorry. Okay, cool, we'll do this. Or some of the conversations were, well, they're doing this. I'm like, okay, all right. It was kind of like if you have children, and you're
Yeah.
like, you're kind of managing between the children fighting.
Yeah.
So it got to a point where it was nearing like maybe the end of the project, but again, my friends and housemates at the time,
Yeah.
they just weren't living up to what the job was. And
Mm.
so the supervisors of that team were like, well, look, you've got to do something, because if you don't, we're leaving. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh. Okay. So yeah, I had to let my friends go,
Yeah.
and I still lived with them. So I was like, you guys got to find another job, because I'm also not going to pay your rent. But yeah, I would
Yeah.
say that
That's a
was probably
tough
one of the
decision.
most, yeah, that was probably one of the most difficult things. But at that point, I learned that, and I carry that to this day, where, things can't be personal sometimes, even though
Absolutely.
there's a lot of personal connections tied to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Sometimes business is business, even
Yes.
though there's personal connections, and it's the decision
Absolutely.
made has to be best for the business,
Yes.
not necessarily what's personal, you know?
True. True. I've
Yeah.
always told people a leader has to be objective.
Yeah.
And that is what you did. You displayed objectivity, and I commend you on making that decision.
Yeah.
Because when a team sees that you gloss over, people that are close to their mistakes or their problems, it is
Sure.
to the detriment of the effectiveness of that team.
And the
Everything falls
detriment and
apart.
effectiveness of that leader. If
Yeah,
there that leader,
absolutely.
any decision that leader makes from then on will not be
True.
trusted.
True.
The whole team, so yes, that, yeah.
Yeah. A
Now
leader will
I
take
didn't know that back then, by the way. I wasn't thinking about it like that. I was just, that was difficult though. It was
Yeah.
difficult.
Wow.
So
I'm
yeah.
sure. I'm sure. But you made the decision.
Mhm.
You were responsible. You were an authentic leader as you are today. And you
Sure.
didn't lose your credibility because
Yes.
they saw that you're really there because you really want to make it work and you
Mhm.
use your integrity, in the times that
Yes.
you most need it. So that must have been a horrible decision, but you did the right thing. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so. And yeah, that I think about that frequently, having to do that.
Yeah.
I've even used that mindset in different positions that I've had, not necessarily leadership positions, but
Yes.
wherever I've worked. And I think that has shown through as a leadership quality,
Very good.
because I think one of the important things about a leader is you have to do your best,
Yeah.
even if that is the best of the entire department, right?
True.
It's not that you're making anyone else look bad, but if
Not
you are able to do your best, that's
yeah.
what you are called to do. And so that's
Absolutely.
going, and you can lead by example as well. If
Yeah.
someone else needs some
Yeah.
help, here, let me show
Yeah.
you what I do, you know?
Absolutely. I agree with you. I agree with you. And my next question is, how
Mhm.
important is it for a leader to practice work-life balance?
Mhm. That is majorly important.
Yeah.
Um, because it is yeah, it is a challenge to do that, but it's important because it's also what the people you lead look to.
Mm.
They look
Yeah.
towards that example, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like I was saying before about my coaching,
Yeah.
which I have to remind myself frequently. Oh, Lee, hold on, slow down. What have you been eating this week? What have you been doing? You're
Yeah.
not doing the things that you coach people to do. Oh, okay. Let me go ahead and do that again, right? So in order to have that work-life balance, one of the key things is not being accessible 24/7.
Yeah.
I say that, and as an entrepreneur, that is probably the hardest thing, is setting that boundary that, well, wait a minute. I have to have time where I'm not working. I have to
Yeah.
have time where I'm not answering that phone or that email
Mm.
or,
Yeah.
trying to improve something.
Yeah.
And by also keeping that integrity with your life, again,
Mm.
you're filling your own tank, whether it's spending time with your family,
Yeah.
looking after your mental health and what you need. it
Yeah.
is it is entirely important, because then you can give that much more focused time to
Yes.
your work.
Absolutely. It is
Yeah.
integral. I agree with you. I agree with you. And
Mhm.
it is also a very big challenge now, especially after the COVID, because we are online and we are available.
Yes.
People just reach out.
Well, it's
And we
also a
have to have
challenge.
boundaries.
Well, and as you know, with time zones, it can be a
Yes.
challenge.
Yes. I mean to that.
Because it's hilarious that we talk about it, because now we're so much more globally connected.
Yeah. Yeah.
So setting those boundaries
Yes.
is definitely important and a challenge at the same time. Absolutely.
Absolutely. No, I agree
Mhm.
with you. I agree with you. And it brings me to my next question.
Mhm.
What was the best display of leadership that you've ever seen? Something that you can reminisce
Mm.
about.
Best display of leadership that I've ever seen. I think I have seen many displays of leadership, but the one that comes up for me at the moment really is a training program that I had been through. They had a lot of movement with their leadership from the time that I'd started the program, and I guess maybe like a year after I'd finished, but you still stay connected to these programs sometimes.
Yeah.
So one of the best displays of leadership I had seen was they had called or had a meeting with a lot of us graduates of their program,
Yeah.
but they were very open, honest, and transparent about what had gone on before we started the program. They were transparent about what was going on during, and the changes that were coming about at the time that they called this meeting.
Yeah.
Now, did they have to, you know, did they have to share the things that they shared? Absolutely not. And did they have to share them as honestly and transparently? No. But the
Wow.
fact that they did, it
Mm.
made the rest of us know that, okay, cool, you are the people who you
Yeah.
say you have been. You're also human. You're also
Yes.
admitting mistakes were
Yes.
made, but you're
Yeah.
also trying to rectify any mistakes
Mm.
that you had a part to play in. And
Yes.
that is a great display of leadership. That's what I believe.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. That ultimate transparency. And, also being
Mhm.
vulnerable with your team and telling them,
Mhm.
that we all have things that we're working through, aiming towards trying to, work on the betterment of the qualities that we have and maybe the
Sure.
shortfalls that we have. Amazing. That's a wonderful, wonderful example. So
And
now,
and it's also a program. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to
yeah,
interrupt.
no, continue,
And,
continue.
and the way that they treated it,
Yeah.
you could have treated it like a business, right? Because we
Mhm.
all invested in
Yes.
ourselves with your company, with what you did. They could
Yeah.
have been like, yeah, business is business. These are the changes we're making. Send an email, send a message. But
Yeah.
it was a meeting, and they actually talked it through, like kind of like family almost. So yeah,
Yes. Yes.
very, very good
Maximum
display of
effort.
leadership.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Maximum effort on their part. Amazing.
Mhm.
Not
Very
that
much
you
so.
find that every day, Lee. You don't
Oh,
find that every day.
well, that's what a lot of us were saying. Like, wow, we don't see that a lot from companies, you know?
Yeah.
I think if more companies did that,
Yes.
the people that work for the companies would run through a brick wall for them, you know?
Absolutely.
Because you would then
Absolutely.
see, well, wow, okay, I know I'm down here on the totem pole, but
Yeah.
if they are willing at the top to be that vulnerable and
Yeah.
open and transparent about what's going on,
Yeah.
cool. I'm going to do my part even harder.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. It levels up the dedication
Mhm.
of the employees. Absolutely. I love that. And I can't really think of any situation where I've actually experienced that in my years in the corporate world. But
Mhm.
it's wonderful, wonderful to hear that you were able to experience that and to,
Yeah.
to reminisce on that idea and that memory. That's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely a wonderful display of leadership for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
I always tell people that leaders go through disappointments. It's inevitable because
Mhm.
sometimes we work in uncharted territory. Sometimes we have projects that we are not really familiar with. There's a new scope, there's a new rollout plan, there's a new
Oh
way
yeah.
we should be conducting it, new skills that we have to learn. And sometimes
Mhm.
there's failure and there's disappointment. And then I tell the individuals involved that the failure is not a reflection on you as a person. It's not you are not the failure. It
Mhm.
just means that you didn't ace that task the first time around. So you can
Absolutely.
go and you can recalibrate your plan, your project plan, your mind map, your brainstorming sessions, and then you can achieve success. So, how,
Absolutely.
in your opinion, do
Mhm.
leaders deal with disappointment?
They don't. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
You had
Disappointment's not a thing. It doesn't happen ever. No, to answer your question, I think some of the things that we talked about,
yeah.
vulnerability, you have to be vulnerable enough to admit when
Mm,
something did not work as planned.
wow.
If you can admit openly what
Yeah.
did not work as planned,
Yeah.
just like you said, you can then come up with a plan to pivot and to change and to
Yes.
see, okay, what might work. That
Yes.
also goes along with how to deal with disappointment.
Yeah.
Leaders have to take feedback
Yes.
from the entire team. So
Mm.
when there is
Yeah.
projects going on,
Yeah.
like you said, scope of work changes. Don't be afraid to take feedback or
Mm.
ideas from the
Yeah.
people that you're going to trust to implement this thing. While
Yes.
as the leader, you might not be hands-on in implementation, but you're
Yes.
hands-on in project management and making
Mm.
sure deadlines are met, right? Making sure the budget is met, those kind of things. But you
Yes.
also need the feedback from the people who are going to do this day to
Yeah.
day, who are in
Beautiful.
the trenches, if you will, right? Who are involved with how the application works. You have to
Mm.
get their feedback.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that is important too. That's
Yeah.
how you deal. And I love what you said. The failed attempt is not a failure and it's not personal.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
just it just didn't work ideally that first time
Yes.
around.
Yes. It's the first try. It's okay. We try again. Yeah. Yeah. And as
Exactly.
long as we don't internalize the negative feedback,
Mhm,
it's not you that they are attacking. They just
mhm.
want to tweak a few things on the plan.
Yes. Well, and so many leaders, I think they put up a wall. Well,
Yeah.
no, let me rephrase that. Let me be more accurate. A good leader is going
Yes.
to accept constructive criticism,
Mm,
and they're going
great.
to understand that it's not personal. I'm not
Yeah.
attacking your character.
Mm,
I am
mm,
merely trying to help you lead me better.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. I have an image in my mind that, leaders that are reactive, like you mentioned the wall, and I saw something. Leaders
Mhm.
that are reactive build this wall, and no one can communicate with them, and everybody's too fearful to communicate with them or to just even say something. And
Yes.
all that pressure builds up like water, and some other time the pressure is going to cause that wall to fall.
Mhm. It's
And a
gonna
leader
crack.
would be like a net. So you let the things through that, edify you. And if
Mhm.
there are people in the team that make like seriously negative comments,
Sure.
uh,
Sure.
that are digging into your character, those are the things that you don't let near you. Because if
Mhm.
you use the net, then you can only take in what's good. It's something like eating the fish and spitting out the bones.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. The bones are gonna hurt going down. You don't want to take those. You don't want to digest. You can't digest those. Absolutely. Yeah. And I agree with you on that point of leadership, where communication. Oh my goodness. Like we could have a whole episode on communication for leadership.
Absolutely. And we
That is
must.
yes. So let's touch on it now so we can tease it for the next
Yeah.
episode. But
Yes.
the way that we communicate as leaders, you can either lead by fear or
Yes.
lead with empathy. Both
Mm,
can be
wow.
effective, because
Yes.
if someone is so afraid of making a mistake, for a time, they will perform at a high level.
Yes.
But
Yes.
mistakes are inevitable, and
Yes.
that's
It won't
okay.
work ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
as a leader, I would much prefer to
Yeah.
lead from inclusion and empathy, because that
Absolutely.
that breeds ownership.
Yes.
And if
Wow.
someone feels like they have ownership with what they do, not
Yeah.
just, oh my gosh, I am afraid to make a mistake because I'm either going to lose my job or whatever,
Yeah.
no one can operate that way for an extended amount of time in a
Absolutely.
positive way.
Yeah. We can't run 100-meter race the whole
Mm-mm.
time, every day, the whole
We're
day.
not meant to. No, that's what's been so, not to bring up the pandemic again, but we're still in it. So that's one of the things that I love to help people work through.
Yeah.
Again, I manage it myself, but we're not meant to be in a constant state of fight
Yeah.
or flight and
Yes.
unknown, right?
True. True.
The
Yes.
body is not
Unhealthy.
meant to
Yeah.
be in that state for so long. So
True. Yeah.
yeah,
I
I'd
agree.
love to help people understand the
It's
power of
themselves.
choice. Yeah, like, you know what? You can control so many things, but it's only you can control how you react to things.
Absolutely. That's
That's
a
what you can
superpower
control.
in its own right. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as a
Wow.
leader, being able to
Mm.
empower people to see
Yeah.
that, to
Yeah.
see, what are you choosing? How are
Yeah.
you reacting?
Yeah.
That can help manage through the things
Yes.
that you cannot control.
Absolutely. And if you are in the space of always reacting, to get out of
Mhm.
that negative cycle and to see a
Mhm.
situation for what it is.
Yes,
Wow, I love that. Thank
you
you
have
for
to
that profound answer. I love that.
sure, you have to disrupt the cycle.
True.
Yes.
True. It has to happen. It's gonna
Some
hurt a
point,
little bit, but it has to happen.
do you want it to hurt a lot or a little bit? If you want it
Exactly.
to hurt a little bit, then you have to make the choice. If you want it to hurt a lot, someone will make the choice for you.
Oh, well said. Well said
Yeah.
and true. Absolutely. Lee, what are the top 5 skills of a sufficient
Mm.
leader, in your opinion?
Top 5 skills. Wow, I think I probably touched on them before talking about the lead program. But I would say listening.
Yeah,
Listening is a huge skill for a leader. We've talked about it. I think vulnerability is
wonderful.
a skill of a leader.
Yeah,
Have to have confidence. right?
Mm.
A lot of people mistake confidence with knowledge, right? I don't think as a leader you do not have to know it all.
Yeah,
Knowledge is like
and
you
we
have to
don't.
be knowledgeable, but you do not need to know it all. You
Yeah.
have to understand who to bring in so
Mm.
that it can be done if you don't know it.
Yeah.
So along with those three, I would say the fourth is
Mm.
understanding what you don't know.
Yes.
I don't know if that's ever really been a quality of leader, but understanding what you don't
Oh,
know.
true. Yeah.
And
Knowing your
then the
stuff. Yeah.
absolutely the fifth one I would say is being okay with saying I don't
Mm.
know.
Yes. And not
Being
feeling guilty about it.
yes, because
Yeah.
as a leader, it is much more um accountable actually to tell
Mm.
someone I don't know, like I don't have that answer.
Find
I'm not
out.
sure, but I'm going to find out. Or I'm going to work with you so that we can find out together.
Even better.
That's
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. Don't be afraid
Fantastic.
to say I don't know.
Yeah.
That is huge.
Fantastic. So
Mhm.
I would say not ruling with fear and not being fearful when you are ruling or leading. Not leading,
Yes.
people in fear of the project of you, and
Mhm.
also not being fearful when you are leading. Just
Yes.
staying it, keeping it
Yeah.
natural, keeping it cool, riding the waves. Taking
Absolutely.
one
And
day at a
even
time.
it's I'd love to point out too for leaders and for anyone watching and listening, there's no such thing as perfection. So if
Exactly.
you are striving for this idea of perfection, you are
Yeah.
setting yourself up for
Mm,
loss.
yeah. True.
Now, there is a perfect thing for everyone,
Yeah.
but it's not perfection. So what's perfect for Juanita is different than what's perfect for Lee.
Yes.
But
True.
those two things can be put together to make
Yeah.
this show the best
Mm,
episode it can be. You see? But
true.
yeah, there's no such thing as perfection. So
Yes.
I think a lot of leaders try to drive their teams for perfection as
Mm,
opposed to constant progress.
yes. Which is the healthier option.
Mhm.
Not being in that adrenal, motion the whole time, but taking your pace,
Sure. Sure.
knowing it's a journey. It's a long distance. It's not a sprint.
No.
Absolutely. I love that.
Not at all.
We are interested to know who
Mhm.
your ultimate role model is, your personal favorite role model.
Ooh. Wow. Um, I was thinking about this question. I have several. So, I would say I'll share each one because one is personal, one is kind of fictional, and
Okay,
then
good.
one is someone that I never met.
Now I'm
So,
curious.
yeah, I don't give standard answers, I guess. So there you go. But
I love it.
so I'm a big comic book Marvel DC fan. Like nothing wrong with that. I
I
love those
love
things. And I do find inspiration from that from time to time.
absolutely.
So one of the characters that I find is a good leader and for me was the Green Lantern. So
Oh,
there's many different versions of the Green Lantern,
yeah.
but the Green Lantern's power is all based on will. That's
Yes.
how they create their constructs from the ring. It's all
Yes.
based on will. And fear
Yeah.
is the enemy of their of will for them. So that and again, that's the fictional one, you know.
I love it. I love it.
So I would say the one of the people that I've been actually talking about lately is the late Congressman John Lewis. I think he passed away a couple years ago, but
Okay.
he was one of the fiercest proponents for racial equity and equality here in the
Okay.
United States.
Yeah.
And
Important. Yeah.
yeah, and like I don't know, like if you study it, you'll know who he is, but
Yeah.
he's not a name that gets thrown up or brought up like Martin Luther King or people like that. Um,
Yeah.
but a quote of his is one that I love and I try to use. So the quote is, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's you call people out, but then you call
Mm.
them in. So I love that because yes, I also work on a lot of social equity projects. And
Yes.
yes, I will call you out on your BS if I see
Yes.
it.
You have
But
to.
but I won't demonize you for it. I want to
Mm.
call you in so that we can solve the problem together.
Yes.
That's what's going to
Fix it.
really make the change long lasting, as
Yeah.
opposed to me calling you out and then
Mm.
telling you, here's how you do it. Doesn't work
Yes.
that way, you know?
It doesn't. It doesn't. It
So
must be partnership. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. So I really inspired by him. And the personal one, I have to say, was my mother. So
Fantastic.
yeah, and there were so many different points. She did not have a typical upbringing, but she always downplayed it. She was one
Mm.
of the most open and kind, accepting
Mm.
people.
Mm.
She used her intuition to I
Yeah.
think I got my intuition from her for sure, because she used her intuition,
Agreed.
and if she didn't trust somebody, you're like, whoa, wait a minute, what's wrong? So I want
Twice.
to, but I want to share, like, so my mom passed away in 2020 from terminal cancer, but this is like true leadership quality to me.
Mm.
When she got diagnosed with this cancer in 2018, we talked about it. And I told her, I said, look, you know what? You've earned the right. This was actually her second cancer diagnosis as well. She had lived
Mm.
through breast cancer. She had survived breast cancer. But
Mm.
at this point, I had told her, I said, look, you have earned the right
Yeah.
to do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
So we understand it's terminal.
Mm.
Whatever time you have left is what you have left.
Yes.
If you choose not to go through chemotherapy and treatments,
Yes.
that's fine. You've earned
Mm.
that right to choose that. You know
Yes.
what she did? She chose to go through treatments
Wow.
with full knowledge that it was terminal cancer.
Wow.
Who does that?
Amazing.
Now,
Courage.
yeah,
Courage.
yes. Now, there might be plenty of other people who've made that same choice. I
Yeah.
don't know them personally, but I'm sure there
Yeah.
have been.
Yeah.
But that to me is a,
Mm.
a huge leadership quality, to have made that difficult choice
Yeah.
to go through what that entails, because
Mm.
for whatever this may prolong my life for whatever time,
Yeah.
understanding full well it was
Mm.
terminal cancer. So yeah, I mean, there were many other things that she inspired me with, but
Mm.
that
Mm.
was, and that's weird. It's kind of weird to share that it was
It's
inspiring.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because people may look at that and say, well, Lee, you lost your mom. And yes, I miss her, of course. Like
Of course.
we're
Of course,
human.
it's natural. Yes.
Yeah. But that I also get to share with people those kind of
Celebrate
things.
life. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So that is one of the most courageous things I've ever known someone to do. Yeah.
And that is a huge connection point for us,
It
because
is.
I was astounded to hear that we have similar stories. I also lost
Mhm.
my mom in 2020.
Yes.
And it was to brain cancer. And
Mhm.
at the time, I couldn't travel between the regions because it was COVID
Mm.
on lockdown.
Yes.
And they gave
Yes.
her a few weeks to live. And she went for treatment. And that treatment prolonged her life so that she lived for months. And
Mm.
she waited for me to reach her
Mm.
before she went to be with the Lord.
Sure.
And I love it when I hear people say that their moms are their role models and their
Mhm.
leaders. I interviewed Kirk Jimenez.
Oh yeah.
He's
Yeah.
his role model. I
Mhm.
interviewed
Mhm.
J.R. Spear. He had a powerful grandmother and motherly leadership
Yes.
role in his life. I told him it reminds me of Timothy in the Bible that had his
Oh
grandmother and his mother.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never even made that connection. Yeah,
And now there
absolutely.
you are, my friend, and your mom is your role model. And you celebrate her life
Mhm.
every time you testify about her courage in that
Oh my
situation.
gosh,
It's
yes.
just beautiful.
Mhm.
Wow.
Well,
Amazing.
I'll let you know this. When I first started podcasting,
Yeah.
actually I tried a lot of coaching things and business things on my mother. She was my testing ground.
Wonderful. She would give you proper feedback.
Absolutely,
That's a
absolutely. So she was my first podcast episode ever.
I
And
love.
to this date, it's
Yeah.
been the most listened to podcast episode I've ever done. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. And your podcasts are powerful. Moving the needle is
Mhm.
something we need. There is
Mm.
so much division in the world.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
even for me as a South African, having an
Mhm.
African American father, having seen the things I've seen globally, also in my country, hearing stories,
Sure.
in the
Mhm.
churches, going into churches, making them multicultural wherever I went.
Mm.
Your podcast is making a change and it's bringing a voice to people that have never had voices before.
Oh,
So
thank
you are
you.
doing
Yes.
amazing work. Just keep up with it and I'll cheer you on.
Thank you. We will cheer each other on. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yes. Absolutely.
Absolutely. When working with potential leaders, which
Mhm.
aspects of leadership do you like to highlight in their lives
Mm.
or in their leadership style in order to elevate them? Because I know you love to elevate people.
Absolutely. Yes. I think we mentioned this before, is the communication.
Beautiful.
Communication. Yeah. Letting helping leaders to, I don't want to keep saying communicate, but to speak so that
Be heard. Yeah.
that someone else can understand, right?
Yeah.
Learning how to speak someone else's language
Yeah.
so that they're on the same page.
Yeah.
The communication also comes in with
Yeah.
listening, being present. There's
Mhm.
so many things with communication,
Yeah.
but I believe that is the most fundamental thing to elevate any leader.
Yeah.
Yeah, communication,
Amazing.
100%. Yeah.
Amazing. When we were in the ministry, just when I started out, when I was a young pastor, we had a subject
Mhm.
called communicating effectively. And I remember writing in my leadership journal, leaders teach people not just how to communicate, but how to communicate effectively. And I feel
Yes.
like that is what you teach the people that you coach. You teach
Yes.
them how to communicate effectively.
Mhm. Because
Yeah,
you can tell somebody the same thing over
yeah,
and over, but if it's not in the way that they can hear it, it's
yeah.
never going to get through.
True,
Yeah.
true. It will
And
just be
it
something floating in the air. Yeah.
absolutely, and it even goes back to that whole channel, right, of
Mm,
giving and receiving. The
mm, mm.
same channel with which you are communicating effectively to someone, you have to leave that channel open so that you
Mm,
can listen effectively to what they're saying.
true.
Absolutely.
I love
Yep.
that. I love that. Your favorite leadership memory. You were leading a team,
Hmm.
you were leading people. Something,
Mhm.
someone said something, something happened. What is that memory?
Favorite leadership memory. I have to say this is a recent one.
Yeah.
One of my friends who I work with, we hadn't seen each other probably in 2 3 years because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So he knows that I was moving into coaching, and he actually he sent me an email after he retired. But and I'm trying to kind of paraphrase the email, but he was very proud of what I've been doing, right? With the
Wow.
coaching, with the podcasting, with everything. But what he also, and it's important for me to say that he's a white man as well. Okay.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
like, man, he is one of my brothers. Like, there's no doubt about it. And
Wow.
so he ended this email by saying, man, there are, I don't know, however many million people in this country, 5 6 million. And he
Yeah.
was like, and I wish we had 6 million of you, like
Oh,
meaning me.
wow. I've got
So
goosebumps. Wow.
I I was almost like in tears in a
Wow.
wreck when I was reading this. But we've known each other for I guess like 14 15 years, something like that. But
Amazing.
this is a guy who was in the service. He's been in corporate sales. He's been
Mhm.
I mean, he and I obviously different backgrounds, but
Yeah.
when you just connect with someone from the beginning, kind of like
Absolutely.
I kind of like connected on a virtual
Yes.
coffee, but
You and I.
yeah, absolutely. But yeah, just hearing that from him, he could choose to say that to anybody, choose to be friends
Wow.
and call anybody brother, but
Yeah.
sent me like a personal email when he retired and said that, and I was just yeah, I could not. Yeah, so that, um, I think that means to me that I am leading in the right ways, right?
Yes.
All these things that
Confirmation.
we've talked about, yeah. Like
Yeah.
I said, the late Representative John Lewis, Congressman, I'm calling people out, but I'm
Mm.
calling them in. I'm trying
Absolutely.
to have people feel included, right? I'm trying to
Wow.
have people feel ownership of
Mm.
changing for the better,
Yeah.
whether it's in a group, organization, one to one. Um, that's what his statement means to me. That's what
Mhm.
he sees that, and that's what I am embodying. So that was a powerful thing. Yeah,
Beautiful memory. And thank you for
yeah,
sharing that with us. I'm going
yeah,
to remember that.
absolutely,
That is beautiful. Wow. You
absolutely.
gave me goosebumps.
Yeah, it was a pretty powerful thing, and again, I know it's personal, so that's why I haven't used like people's names and stuff. But
No,
yeah,
of course.
that was
Of course.
yeah,
Of course,
yeah.
that's your prerogative. Absolutely.
Hmm.
What is next for you?
Oh my, um, a nap. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
We all need one.
It's good to have naps throughout the day.
I'm gonna. You can write there. Leaders need naps.
Yeah. We'll come up with a program to have leaders take naps throughout the day. I love that. We'll absolutely do that. What is next? Wow. I haven't really well, I guess I've kind of thought about what's next. So
Yeah.
again, continuing picking back up with the school because they've been off for the summer.
Yeah.
But what's next on the horizon, I think the next frontier
Mm.
is stepping into the world of public speaking. I'm working
Lovely.
on that,
Wow.
um, because that just adds another element to
Mm.
deliver messages, and that adds
Yeah.
another element
Awesome.
to connect with people.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
I also am going to be looking at authoring books, writing
Awesome.
books. So I think those are the next phases
Yeah.
in the near future for me. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Combining your knowledge and experience with your presence that I
Mhm.
experience and the people that engages you. So
Mhm.
bringing that into the public speaking arena, I mean, how powerful.
Yeah.
Putting that down on paper, how amazing and powerful as well.
Mm.
So we look forward to this new journey of yours. Absolutely. Wow.
Sure.
Step in the right
Absolutely.
direction.
Doing my best, one foot at a time.
Yes, that's the best way. Lee, do you have any words of wisdom for the audience?
Well, there is a message. I actually used this in a public speaking event back in July. But yeah, I would say the message, and I learned this from the sport of triathlon.
Huh?
And on the next podcast, when we talk about communication, I'll share that story. but
Yay!
but the message I would like to share is do it afraid.
Oh,
Do
wow.
it afraid, because fear is something that is imagined that hasn't happened yet. Now,
Yeah,
danger is real. Danger is real.
sometimes.
But fear is something that will keep you stuck because you have already imagined something that hasn't even happened.
Yes.
So if you have anxiety, if you have the fear, right, of doing something, do it anyway.
Wow.
Excuse me, do it anyway, because the fear might not go away.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what can happen after you do the thing, no one can take that away from you.
True.
And
True.
then that will be proof to yourself of how
Mm.
much of a leader, how courageous, and how powerful you are when you do that thing afraid.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. The phrase comes to mind. Leaders make fear their fuel.
Yes.
That's what I'm
Yes.
thinking.
Yes. Absolutely.
Do it afraid.
Do
Yeah,
it
let's
afraid.
do it afraid. Let's get that courage.
Yep. Do it afraid.
It has to be done.
Because when you do it afraid, you don't tie yourself to the outcome, right?
Yes.
And actually, and I'll share this before we go too.
Yeah.
The physiological response of the body is the same, whether it's fear or excitement. So if the body has the same exact physiological response, what's the
Yes.
difference?
Exactly.
We are the ones that attach fear or excitement to that feeling.
Very interesting.
Mhm.
Very, very interesting.
So if we replace the word and say, I'm excited to do this instead of I'm afraid, that starts to shift the mindset about what we're doing.
Yes.
Or if you can't shift the mindset, that's why, again, I share, do it afraid. Do it afraid.
Do it afraid.
Mhm.
And shifting that mindset to something positive is kind of practicing self-care.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Putting yourself in a better mental space.
It's like the two words, difficult and challenging. I know I've used them both throughout the podcast. I try to use the word challenging much more because the word difficult gives you the feeling that you can't do it. You cannot achieve it. The word challenging makes you know that you can achieve it. Might not be easy, might take some work, but you can achieve it. Those two words are, if you flip them, use challenging instead of difficult, you will start to find yourself doing more things afraid.
Wow, I love that. I love that. And, it has been such a privilege to have you in our session. We have learned so much from you. And audience, we are going to make Lee's contact details available at the end of the session. Watch this space. Look out for the next session on communication because something is building here.
I love it. I love it. Anytime.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for taking the time to be here and sharing all your knowledge and, just elevating us in this session and giving us new hope and refreshing our views and, it's shifting our mindset. It has been incredible.
Thank you so much for having me. And I look forward to being on again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lee. And to the Meticulous Moments audience, thank you for joining us. And please tune in again. Follow Lee. Go on his social media platforms. Visit his website. Network with him as we all cheer him on his new journey of pursuing public speaking and becoming an author. And with that, until next time, we say goodbye.